Welcome to the Learn and Talk English podcast. I am so glad that you're here with us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
I want to speak directly to you, the listener, right from the very start, because, well, in this channel, Learn and Talk English, we are providing high-quality educational material to help you master the language.
Absolutely. We really want you to succeed.
We strongly encourage you to follow along, listen to these conversations regularly, and make this a core part of your daily routine. Because consistency is, it truly is the master key to fluency.
It really is.
Today, our mission as professional English educators is to explore the staggering global power of the English language. But I want to be clear right away, this conversation is not just about grammar rules.
No, definitely not. We are not going to just sit here and tell you to memorize lists of vocabulary.
Right. We are here to talk about the mechanics of how English fundamentally changes the trajectory of your life. We're going to explore exactly how mastering this language unlocks significantly higher pay, how it literally opens international borders, and, well, how it connects you to the entire infrastructure of the modern world.
It is truly a powerful decision to learn English, and the data we have to share with you today is absolutely fascinating.
Your decision to dedicate your time to learning English is one of the most powerful economic and personal choices you can make. And today, we are going to prove to you exactly why that is.
As your guide through this material today, I will be speaking deliberately, slowly, and clearly. We want to ensure that every single English learner listening to us right now can fully follow our discussion, internalize the concepts, and actually apply them.
Yeah, that's so important.
We are going to break down some highly complex economic, technological, and sociological ideas, but we will do so using simple words and very clear, vivid comparisons.
And you'll also notice that we will intentionally repeat key sentences and crucial statistics.
Yes, this is not an accident. Repetition is an essential pedagogical tool for active listening and deep learning. If you are listening to this on a long international flight or, perhaps during your daily commute to work, you are in the perfect place. We have a long, highly educational, and deeply fascinating journey ahead of us.
Okay, let's unpack this. By the end of our very long and detailed conversation today, you will understand exactly why learning English is the single most valuable investment you can make for your future.
And we are also going to explore a very surprising, counterintuitive fact. We will explain exactly why the explosion of artificial intelligence, or AI, actually makes your human language skills more important, not less important.
I love that part. Let us begin with our first major topic. We call this concept the bilingual bonus.
The bilingual bonus.
Right. This is the reality of English acting as a powerful, measurable financial asset. When you achieve mastery in English, the global market actually rewards you financially.
The data is incredibly clear on this. Studies show that multilingual workers, meaning people who speak more than one language, earn an average of 19% more than monolingual workers.
Wait, 19%?
Yes, 19%. Let me repeat that very important statistic for you to consider. You can earn 19% more money, on average, simply for possessing the ability to communicate in another language. Monolingual workers, who are people who only speak one language, just don't get that.
That is a massive difference in pay.
It really is. And when we look at specific countries, the numbers become even more real. In the United States of America, bilingual professionals earn a premium of $14,050 extra every single year, compared to their peers who only speak English.
$14,000 a year?
Yes.
For the language.
Exactly. And in the United Kingdom, that premium is an extra $6,395 annually.
Wow.
And in rapidly developing economic powerhouses like India, achieving fluency in English can boost your salary by up to an astonishing 34%.
Let us carefully analyze this phrase, bilingual bonus, because it is a vital concept in modern economics.
The word bilingual simply means having the ability to speak two languages fluently.
Right, by meaning two.
Exactly. And the word bonus means extra money or extra value that is added to your baseline pay. So a bilingual bonus is that extra financial compensation you receive precisely because you bring two languages to the table.
But we have to ask the deeper question here. Why do employers voluntarily pay this bonus? Because businesses are designed to save money, right? So why do they eagerly spend more on bilingual staff?
That is a great question. Research shows that 90% of United States employers actively rely on bilingual employees to keep their operations running.
90%. That is an overwhelming majority.
It essentially means the entire economy. Employers pay this premium because speaking a second language, particularly English in a global context, provides profound cognitive advantages.
Let's define cognitive for the listener.
The word cognitive relates to the brain, to our mental processes, and to how we fundamentally think and solve problems. Neurological studies demonstrate that bilingual people possess superior mental flexibility.
How does that work?
Well, because their brains are constantly navigating two different sets of vocabulary and grammar, they develop an enhanced ability to switch between completely different tasks quickly and efficiently.
Ah, I see.
This executive function of the brain makes them highly adaptable. They also demonstrate much better problem-solving skills because they are accustomed to looking at concepts from multiple linguistic perspectives. These cognitive traits are highly valuable in any fast-paced business environment.
I understand the cognitive benefits, but I have to push back a little here.
Okay, go ahead.
Why are employers paying so much extra specifically for the language? I mean, if someone has incredible technical skills for a job, for example, if they're a world-class accountant who understands complex tax law or a brilliant software developer who can write flawless code, why does their language skill change their salary by thousands of dollars? Shouldn't their technical brilliance be enough?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to redefine how we view language in the workplace. For a long time, speaking a second language was considered a soft skill.
A soft skill.
Right. A soft skill is usually a personal attribute or habit, like having a friendly attitude, being a good listener, or being highly organized. Those are nice to have, but they are not the foundation of a business.
So what has changed?
Today, however, English is no longer just a soft skill. It is officially considered workforce infrastructure.
Workforce infrastructure. That sounds very industrial.
Exactly. Infrastructure is the basic physical system that allows a business or a whole country to operate. Think about roads, bridges, power lines, and fiber optic cables.
Right. Without roads, delivery trucks cannot travel.
Without power lines, factories cannot run. In the modern global economy, without English, international business simply cannot happen. English is a critical structural business tool used to reduce the friction of international trade.
It is the mechanism that makes buying, selling, debating, and negotiating across international borders smooth and efficient.
Employers happily pay more for highly proficient English speakers because those employees serve as the human bridges that connect the local company to the vast, lucrative global market. Without the bridge, you cannot access the capital on the other side.
That makes perfect sense. They are the human infrastructure. However, many people face a very specific, often hidden psychological challenge when they try to be this bridge.
Yes, they certainly do.
In the field of language learning, there is a recognized phenomenon called the heritage speaker syndrome. Let me explain what a heritage speaker is.
Please do. It's an important concept.
This is someone who grew up speaking a certain language at home with their parents or grandparents. They have a wonderful natural rhythm when they speak. They can talk about the food they're cooking, the weather outside, and their daily family life with perfect ease.
Yes, very conversational.
But when that exact same person steps into a formal professional setting, like a corporate boardroom with high-level executives, they suddenly freeze, their mind goes blank, they become incredibly nervous, and they stumble over their words.
And why does that happen?
This happens because they do not possess the formal professional register and the specific business vocabulary required for that environment. They have domestic language, but they lack corporate language.
That is exactly the distinction that separates a basic speaker from a highly compensated professional.
If you want to capture that 19% bilingual bonus, it is absolutely not enough to just be able to have casual conversations in a coffee shop. You must consciously move from casual English to what we call career-ready English.
Career-ready English. You must intentionally practice the specific language of your chosen profession.
Right, and you achieve this transition through consistent, deliberate speaking practice in professional contexts. You have to practice how to politely but firmly negotiate a contract. You have to practice how to stand up and present complex data to a room full of people.
You have to practice how to write professional, persuasive emails that get results.
A heritage speaker or an intermediate learner might easily know how to say, the new product looks really good.
But to command a boardroom, they need to learn how to say the newly integrated features have significantly enhanced our user retention metrics.
Oh, that sounds much more professional.
It does. This level of articulation does not happen by accident. It takes deliberate, focused practice. You must actively place yourself in professional scenarios, even if they are just Practice scenarios with a mentor or a study group, and drill the vocabulary, the phrasing, and the tone of your specific industry.
The financial bonus is awarded to those who can speak the language of business fluently and confidently. Making more money through career-ready English is a fantastic goal. But as adult learners, we always have to keep one eye looking toward the future. And right now, the future is dominated by rapidly advancing technology.
Yes, the AI revolution.
Today, computers are getting incredibly, astonishingly smart. We all have powerful translation applications right in our pockets on our mobile phones. We have advanced artificial intelligence that can read vast documents and write essays in seconds.
We do.
So it is a very fair question to ask. With computers getting this smart, won't robots just translate everything for us in real time? Won't the need to spend years learning English simply disappear in the next decade?
That is a very common, very understandable question. Many people see these translation tools and assume human language learning is becoming obsolete. But the reality, backed by massive industry data, is quite the opposite.
Really? The opposite?
Yes. Let us look closely at the rise of artificial intelligence, commonly called AI. Recent comprehensive surveys of global corporate leaders show that 92% of global employers say English is actually more important today than it was 5 years ago.
Wow. Let me say that again so it truly sinks in. 92% of employers believe human English proficiency is more critical now, in the age of AI, than it was before AI existed.
Furthermore, 81% of these employers explicitly agree that the integration of AI tools in their companies actually increases the need for English proficiency among their staff.
That is counterintuitive. AI does not decrease the need for you to know English, it actively increases it.
We have to understand why this happens. First, consider how AI is built. The most powerful AI systems in the world are called large language models, or LLMs.
LLMs?
Yes, these are the underlying brains behind tools like ChatGPT or Claude. These models are built and trained primarily on English-centric data. The vast majority of the text scraped from the internet to teach these models was written in English.
So they essentially think in English.
Therefore, the models think best in English. The most precise prompts, the most complex instructions, and the most nuanced commands given to an AI yield the best results when they are written in English.
If you want to use the most powerful tools in the world effectively, you must speak their primary programming language.
Exactly. Moreover, and perhaps most importantly, AI absolutely cannot replace human nuance.
Nuance. Let's explain what nuance means.
Nuance refers to the subtle, microscopic differences in meaning, tone, or feeling behind our words. AI does not possess a deep, lived cultural understanding. AI cannot look an anxious client in the eyes and build genuine human trust.
Here's where it gets really interesting. What we are truly talking about here is English functioning as the ultimate lingua franca of the modern era.
Yes, let us clearly define that term for our listeners, because it is a central concept to our entire discussion. A lingua franca is a bridge language.
A bridge language.
It is a common language adopted by speakers whose native languages are different. To visualize this, imagine a scenario where a senior business executive from Tokyo, Japan, travels to São Paulo, Brazil, to finalize a major manufacturing partnership.
Okay, I am picturing that.
The Japanese executive does not speak a single word of Portuguese, and the Brazilian executive does not speak any Japanese. What language do they use to communicate, build trust, and sign the contract?
They use English.
They use English. English serves as the lingua franca. It is the universal neutral bridge that spans across their cultural and linguistic divide, allowing them to understand each other perfectly.
A perfect modern example of this lingua franca in action is the global world of software engineering. Let us think about a talented, ambitious software engineer living in Istanbul, Turkey.
Okay, let's look at her situation.
If she wants to learn the absolute newest, most cutting-edge programming language, the best and most frequently updated tutorials are going to be published in English first. All of the foundational technical documentation released by major tech companies is in English.
That is very true.
If she gets stuck on a complex coding problem and wants to join a global community to ask for help, she will log onto platforms like Discord, GitHub, or Stack Overflow. To actively participate in those global communities, to ask questions, and to understand the solutions provided by developers in Germany, India, or Canada, she absolutely must use English.
English is essentially the core operating system of the entire global tech industry. You simply cannot compile your career without it.
When people ask me about relying entirely on AI translation apps instead of learning the language, I like to use this comparison. Imagine relying on a translation app in a critical business meeting. It is a lot like using a cold metal robot to give a grieving person a hug.
A robot hug.
Yeah, a robot hug. Technically speaking, the robot's mechanical arms are wrapping around the person's body. By definition, it is a hug, but it completely lacks the genuine human connection, the emotional warmth, and the unspoken empathy that the person actually needs.
Employers and business partners do not pay for robotic literal transactions. They pay for human connection, for the establishment of trust, and for long-term relationship building.
You simply cannot build a deep, trusting relationship through the delayed literal processing of a translation machine.
That is a highly illustrative comparison. A robot hug lacks warmth, just as a machine translation completely lacks the warmth and subtlety of human understanding.
Right.
When you dedicate time to learning English here on this channel, Learn and Talk English, we're not just giving you vocabulary words, we're helping you build the capacity for that genuine human connection. You are learning to communicate your ideas with warmth, with deep professionalism, and with a kind of nuance that builds lasting trust.
So we have thoroughly discussed how mastering English brings you substantial financial bonuses and how it keeps you highly relevant and irreplaceable in the rapidly advancing age of AI. But in some specific critical industries, speaking English is not just about making more money or using the latest technology. In these fields, clear English communication is literally a matter of life and death.
Yes, life and death.
This transitions us to a fascinating area of our discussion, the role of high-stakes English in aviation and maritime safety.
When we use the term high stakes, we mean that the potential consequences of an action or a mistake are incredibly severe. In high-stakes environments, a simple misunderstanding can result in disaster.
Let us first look at global aviation, which is the massive industry of flying commercial and cargo airplanes.
The rules for global flying are established and strictly enforced by a body called the International Civil Aviation Organization, known globally as ICAO.
ICA?
ICO requires that all international pilots and all air traffic controllers possess a minimum English proficiency level of 4. This requirement is graded on a strict scale from 1 to 6.
So level 4 out of 6, what does that actually mean?
Level 4 is officially designated as operational.
Operation.
What does operational actually mean in practice? It means that the pilot or the controller must be able to understand complex instructions and speak clearly and rapidly, not just during normal sunny weather, but specifically when there's an unexpected, highly stressful problem.
We see a very similar, incredibly strict framework in the maritime industry, which involves massive cargo ships and the global sea trade. Sailors who navigate these massive vessels across international oceans must adhere to a standardized system of English.
Yes, that is called the Standard Marine Communication Phrases, or SMCP for short.
SMCP. I think some listeners might wonder, why is this incredibly strict global standard necessary? I mean, why must a pilot from France who is flying a French airplane into an airport in Beijing, China, be forced to speak English to the Chinese air traffic controller? Why can't they just use translation technology or their own languages?
It is absolutely necessary because, historically, language miscommunications have caused catastrophic operational disruptions and severe fatal safety risks.
Let's give an example.
Imagine an airplane carrying 300 passengers, flying high in the sky at night. Suddenly, there is a catastrophic engine failure. The cockpit fills with alarms.
That sounds terrifying.
The pilot must communicate the exact nature of this complex emergency to the air traffic controller on the ground immediately. This emergency communication must be incredibly fast, it must be crystal clear, and most importantly, it must be perfectly understood by the person on the ground, regardless of what their native language happens to be.
If the French pilot and the Chinese controller are trying to guess what the other is saying, or if they are waiting for a computer to translate their words, precious seconds are lost.
And in an aviation emergency, losing seconds can literally cost hundreds of lives. By mandating English as the global standard, ICAO ensures that everyone in the sky and on the ground follows the exact same communication rules, completely eliminating the deadly potential for linguistic confusion.
Let us turn this fascinating concept into a practical vocabulary lesson for our listeners. We mentioned earlier that specific industries have developed their own highly specialized versions of English.
Yes, industry-specific English.
Let us look closely at maritime English, the very specific English used by professionals working on ships. The vocabulary used on a commercial ship is intentionally different from the vocabulary you use in a normal house, even though the objects might serve similar purposes.
Give us some examples.
In your house, The room where you cook your food is called the kitchen. But on a ship, that exact same area is exclusively called the galley.
The galley.
In your house, you walk on the floor. On a ship, the surface you walk on is never called a floor, it is always called the deck.
The deck.
If you are driving your car down the street, you turn left or you turn right. But if you are navigating a ship, the left side of the vessel is permanently designated as port, and the right side is permanently designated as starboard.
Port and starboard.
Finally, if you are tying something to the roof of your car and the normal string breaks, you simply say the rope broke. But in the high-stakes environment of maritime English, if a massive, heavy mooring line holding a ship to the dock snaps under pressure, it is referred to as a rope parting.
What's fascinating here is understanding the underlying psychology of why this exists. Knowing what we call general English is absolutely essential.
General English.
Yes, general English is the foundational language you use to order a cup of coffee, ask for directions to the train station, or have a polite conversation with a neighbor. You must build that foundation first.
Okay, so that is the base.
But professionals operating in complex environments must layer industry-specific vocabulary on top of that general foundation to survive and succeed.
Like the sailor.
Exactly. A sailor must have strong general English to communicate with their crewmates. But during a fierce storm, they must also instinctively know that the floor is a deck and the kitchen is a galley. This specialized vocabulary exists to remove all ambiguity.
So there's no confusion at all.
Right. If a captain yells an order about the left side, a panicked sailor might confuse their own left with the ship's left. By using the fixed term port, the ambiguity is instantly erased.
Similarly, a corporate accountant must know general English, but they must also flawlessly understand complex financial terms like liability, depreciation, and assets.
The general language is the foundation of the house, and the highly specific industry vocabulary is the specialized architecture built on top of it.
I really like to think of the entire network of global transportation as a massive, incredibly complex highway system.
That's a good way to look at it.
Imagine a giant multi-lane highway where cars from 20 different countries are all driving at high speeds at the exact same time. If every single driver on that highway is following a completely different system of traffic lights, imagine some drivers think you stop on green, some think you stop on red, and others think you stop on blue, crashes are going to happen immediately.
It would be complete and utter chaos.
Exactly. English serves as the universal traffic light system for the world's airplanes and cargo ships. It is the agreed-upon standard that ensures everyone stops on red and goes on green, regardless of where they were born. It is the invisible infrastructure that keeps the global highway safe and functional.
That is an exceptionally accurate analogy. English is indeed the universal operating system that prevents devastating crashes on the global highway of trade and travel.
But it is crucial to understand that this universal system does not just apply to massive commercial vehicles crossing international borders.
No, it applies just as strictly to individual people who are trying to cross borders.
Mhm.
People who have a dream to start a brand new life, build a career, and raise a family in a different country must successfully navigate this exact same linguistic system.
That brings us to another massive, life-changing aspect of our discussion today. English as the ultimate gateway to immigration and new lives.
This is a major reason why people learn English.
Countless people around the world dedicate themselves to learning English specifically because they want to immigrate to an English-speaking country. To manage this massive flow of people, governments use highly standardized English exams as a primary filter to decide who is granted a visa and who is turned away.
Let us break down the specific, sometimes complex requirements for three of the most popular immigration destinations in the world: the United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada.
Let us begin with the UK.
Let us begin by analyzing the system used by the United Kingdom. The UK relies on an assessment framework called the CEFR levels.
What does CEFR stand for?
CEFR stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. This is a globally recognized scale that measures language ability. The levels range from A1, which represents a complete beginner, progressing all the way up to C2, which represents an advanced, near-native master of the language.
So A1 to C2, where does the UK set the requirement?
In recent years, the UK government has been steadily raising its minimum English requirements for many of its skilled worker visas. They are actively moving the mandatory requirement up from the B1 level to the B2 level.
Let us define what that leap means. B1 is considered an intermediate level.
At B1, you can confidently talk about familiar, everyday topics like your family, your hobbies, or your daily routine.
But B2 is an upper intermediate level, and it is a significant step up in cognitive demand. The government officially defines a B2 speaker as an independent user.
An independent user. From a sociological standpoint, this means you possess the linguistic tools to navigate society without constantly needing help.
You can read and fully understand complex professional texts. You can interact fluently and spontaneously with native speakers without either person feeling strained or frustrated.
You can clearly express detailed, nuanced opinions on abstract topics, like politics or economics. The government wants B2 speakers because they can instantly participate in the broader society.
Now, let us look at the system in Australia. Australia uses a highly competitive points system for its skilled migration visas.
A point system.
To be granted a visa, you need to collect a certain number of points based on your age, your work experience, and your education. However, your proven English level is one of the most powerful and controllable ways to dramatically increase your points total.
Yes. Australia most frequently uses the IELTS exam, which stands for the International English Language Testing System, to measure this.
The scoring system is brutal but clear. If you score a 6.0 overall on the IELTS, the Australian government considers your English to be competent.
Competent.
However, while a competence score of 6.0 allows you to pass the basic minimum requirement to apply, it awards you exactly 0 points toward your total visa score. You are allowed to apply, but you gain no competitive advantage.
0 points for a 6.0.
Right. If you study hard and push your score up to a 7.0, your English is officially considered proficient, and the government rewards you with 10 crucial points.
10 points is a big deal.
It is. But if you achieve mastery and score an 8.0, your English is categorized as superior, and you receive a massive 20 points. In the highly competitive world of Australian immigration, those 20 points are often the exact deciding factor between your visa application being joyfully accepted or painfully rejected.
Now let us examine the intricate system used by Canada. Canada assesses language using its own metric called the CLB, which stands for Canadian Language Benchmarks.
CLB.
Many highly skilled workers aim for a specific benchmark called CLB 9, because reaching this level unlocks maximum points in the express entry pool for permanent residency.
How hard is it to get a CLB 9?
To achieve a CLB 9, you cannot just be an average conversational speaker. If you choose to take the IELTS exam to prove your level for Canada, you must achieve an incredibly high listening score of 8.0.
Wow, an 8.0 in listening.
Simultaneously, you must also achieve a 7.0 in the reading section, a 7.0 in the writing section, and a 7.0 in the speaking section. This is an exceptionally high standard across all 4 domains of language.
What is crucial for our listeners to understand is the incredible value of marginal improvements. Every single 0.5 band increase on your IELTS test can mathematically add highly valuable immigration points to your overall application profile.
Spending an extra 3 months studying to improve your reading score from a 6.5 to a 7.0 might seem like a small academic achievement, but in reality, it could completely change the trajectory of your entire life by bumping you into a higher point category and triggering an invitation to immigrate.
So what does this all mean for the listener sitting at home right now? Does it mean that just being okay at English or just being able to chat with tourists isn't enough anymore? Do you actually have to prove you are an excellent, highly proficient user of the language just to get enough points for a skilled visa?
Yes, that is the stark reality of modern global migration. Being just okay, or possessing only basic conversational survival English, is no longer sufficient to secure these highly competitive skilled worker visas.
Why are governments making it so difficult?
We must look at this from the perspective of the host countries. These nations want to admit immigrants who can seamlessly and immediately integrate into their complex societies. They want professionals who can walk into an office on their very first day and start working in their specialized fields without a debilitating language barrier slowing down productivity.
That makes sense.
Furthermore, they want citizens who can communicate clearly and accurately with their local doctors, their children's school teachers, and their new neighbors. The rigorous English exams are the government's objective, standardized method of proving that you possess the necessary tools to integrate and thrive.
However, there is an important alternative pathway to prove your proficiency, right?
Yes, there is. If you have completed a rigorous academic degree, such as a full bachelor's degree or a master's degree that was taught entirely in English from an internationally recognized university, many countries will readily accept that academic credential as definitive proof of your English level.
So you don't always need the exam.
In many cases, you may not need to sit for the stressful IELTS test at all if you already hold a major degree that was instructed and assessed in English.
Getting a university degree in English is truly a fantastic multi-purpose strategy for anyone looking to move abroad. It explicitly proves your high-level language skills to immigration authorities, and it simultaneously gives you a highly respected professional qualification that makes you attractive to global employers.
It is a win-win situation.
This leads us directly into our next major area of exploration: how English acts as the master key for unlocking global education and elite scholarships. It is an undeniable fact that English is the undisputed lingua franca of international academia.
Yes, we see that term lingua franca again.
If you have a dream to study at a top-tier, globally ranked university anywhere in the world, whether it is in London, New York, Sydney, or even international programs in Tokyo or Amsterdam, you need high-level English.
Absolutely. English proficiency throws open the heavy doors to the world's most prestigious universities.
Yeah.
And perhaps even more importantly, for many brilliant students around the world, it opens the doors to massive financial funding.
Financial funding is the big one.
Let us discuss a prime example, the Scheveningen Scholarship. Scheveningen is a highly prestigious, fiercely competitive, fully funded master's degree program hosted by the United Kingdom government.
Scheveningen, what does it do?
It is explicitly designed to identify and support outstanding emerging leaders from all over the globe.
When we say a scholarship is fully funded, we mean that the program pays for absolutely everything.
Everything. It pays for your international flights to and from your home country. It provides a monthly stipend for your rent, food, and living expenses in the UK. And most importantly, it covers your exorbitant university fees entirely.
It is a life-changing opportunity.
But to even be considered for this elite scholarship, your English must be exceptional. You must demonstrate the ability to read incredibly dense, complex academic texts and write highly persuasive, structurally flawless essays that convince the selection committee of your leadership potential.
Let us pause here to explore some specific vocabulary related to this topic. As a learner, navigating the application process for these universities can be confusing because academia has its own specialized language.
It definitely does.
I am going to read out some highly important academic terms, and I want you to define them clearly for our listeners so they can confidently navigate university websites and application portals.
I'm ready.
The first essential term is scholarship, or its close relative, fellowship.
A scholarship or a fellowship represents vital financial support granted for your education. It's quite simply a sum of money given to a student by a university, a government, or an organization to help them pay for their expensive studies.
And what is the difference between the two?
Generally speaking, a scholarship is awarded for undergraduate degrees, like a bachelor's, or general graduate studies. A fellowship is a very similar concept, but it's typically reserved for highly advanced graduate students, like PhD candidates or specialized researchers, to financially support their specific academic investigations.
Do you have to pay it back?
The most crucial thing to understand about both scholarships and fellowships is that this is not a loan from a bank. You do not have to pay this money back. It is an investment in your potential.
Excellent explanation. The next critical term you will see on every university website is tuition.
Tuition refers to the specific, often large sum of money that you must pay directly to the university in exchange for your courses, your access to facilities, and your expert instruction.
So the cost of the classes.
Yes, it is the core cost of the actual academic teaching. When a scholarship program proudly states that it is fully funded, it means they are covering the massive cost of that tuition completely, lifting a huge financial burden off the student's shoulders.
The third term is a document that causes many students a lot of stress: the statement of purpose.
A statement of purpose, which is very frequently abbreviated as an SOP, is a formal, highly structured essay that you are required to write and submit when applying to a university program.
What goes into an SOP?
In this critical essay, you must articulate your past academic history and your future academic goals. You must explain persuasively exactly why you want to study at that specific university, what specific knowledge you hope to acquire from their professors, and how obtaining this specific degree will propel your future career forward.
Sounds very demanding.
It is your one chance to speak directly to the admissions committee, and therefore it must be written in excellent, highly professional, perfectly structured English.
The final academic term for our listeners today is transcript.
A transcript is a highly official, certified academic record provided by your previous high school or university. It is a formalized document that chronologically lists every single class you ever took at that institution, along with the exact grades or marks you received in those specific classes.
Why do they need that?
Universities demand to see your official, translated transcript to verify your academic history and to prove that you have the discipline and intelligence to succeed in their rigorous programs.
Now that we clearly understand the vocabulary of the application process, let us talk about the specific language exams you need to pass to actually enter these prestigious universities.
Okay.
We have already discussed the IELTS exam in the context of immigration. There's also the TOEFL exam, which stands for the Test of English as a Foreign Language. Both the IELTS and the TOEFL are the globally recognized standard exams for university admissions nearly everywhere in the world.
But what many people don't realize is that there are also highly specialized language exams tailored for specific careers.
Like what?
For example, there is an exam called the OET. OET stands for the Occupational English Test. This fascinating test is specifically designed, written, and graded for healthcare professionals, such as doctors, nurses, and pharmacists who want to work in an English-speaking country.
That makes sense. A doctor needs different vocabulary than a computer scientist.
Exactly. Instead of asking a candidate to write a generic essay about a topic like global warming or the impact of social media, which is common on the IELTS, a registered nurse taking the OET will be tested on highly specific, job-related tasks.
What kind of tasks?
They will be graded on how accurately and empathetically they can write a formal patient referral letter to a specialist. They are tested on the exact, high-stakes English they need to perform their job safely and effectively. It is a brilliant system that ensures medical professionals are truly ready for the wards. This raises an important question. What actually happens after you study hard, pass the IELTS or the OET, and finally get accepted into the university of your dreams? Is your English journey suddenly finished because you got the acceptance letter?
I think we both know the answer to that.
The harsh truth is the answer is absolutely no. Surviving and thriving in a fast-paced English-speaking university classroom is a massive ongoing challenge. Compelling research data reveals that a staggering 60% of international students initially struggle profoundly to understand their required academic textbooks during their first semester.
60%. That is more than half.
Academic reading is incredibly dense, filled with complex sentence structures and obscure vocabulary that you do not encounter in daily life. Furthermore, many brilliant international students suffer from severe anxiety when they are asked to speak in front of others in a busy classroom or a seminar.
They are paralyzed by the fear of making a simple grammar mistake and looking foolish in front of native speakers.
Yes. Because of this intense fear, a damaging dynamic often occurs during group projects. The native speakers, or the highly confident fluent students, end up dominating the conversation and doing all of the talking.
This dynamic is incredibly dangerous for the student's academic growth because it actively hides the true underlying academic skills and the brilliant, innovative ideas of the students who are less fluent.
An international student might genuinely be a genius in the field of mechanical engineering, but if they lack the linguistic confidence to clearly express their revolutionary ideas during a group presentation, the professor will simply not see their brilliance and their grades will suffer.
That is a truly heartbreaking reality that so many talented students face every day. I like to compare this frustrating situation to having a brilliant, beautiful, creative mind that is entirely locked inside a thick, heavy, soundproof box.
A soundproof box. I like that analogy.
Imagine the person trapped inside that box. They are shouting out incredible, world-changing ideas. They have the exact solution to the complex engineering problem written on the board.
But nobody can hear them.
Because the walls of the box are completely soundproof, the professor and the other students on the outside cannot hear a single word they are saying. Achieving true, high-level English proficiency is the master key that unlocks the heavy door to that soundproof box.
It gives them a voice.
When you truly master English, you push open that door, stepping out of the isolation and allowing the entire academic world to hear your brilliant ideas clearly and powerfully. You are no longer trapped, silenced, or hidden by a linguistic barrier. You become a fully participating member of the global intellectual community.
That is a profoundly beautiful and accurate way to explain the psychological reality of language barriers. Helping you forge that key and unlock that soundproof box is precisely why we are here, broadcasting on the Learn and Talk English channel.
We are providing you with the linguistic keys to free your ideas.
And something truly magical happens once you successfully unlock your own box. You realize something else entirely. Mastering the English language doesn't just help you learn, consume information, and express yourself. It grants you the incredible power to teach others.
Teaching others.
You can take the key you forged, turn around, and hand a copy of it to someone else who's still trapped in their box.
Exactly. The ability to empower others is the ultimate reward. And that brings us to the final major concept of our deep exploration today, teaching the world.
Teaching the world.
We are talking about acquiring TEFL certifications. TEFL is an acronym that stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. Once you have dedicated the time to master English yourself, you can actually build a highly respected, globally mobile career teaching it to others around the world.
If you want to be taken seriously as an educator, there are two very famous, internationally recognized certifications you can pursue: the CELTA and the Trinity Certisol.
Let us explore the rigorous nature of these certifications in detail, because they are not simply pieces of paper you buy on the internet.
No, they are not. The CELTA, which is rigorously assessed and moderated by Cambridge University, and the Trinity Certisol, which is assessed by Trinity College London, are widely considered the absolute gold standards for English language teaching worldwide.
What makes them so special?
Both of these intensive training courses are incredibly demanding. They both require a minimum of 120 hours of intensive supervised training.
120 hours.
I want to be very clear. This is not a simple multiple-choice online quiz that you can casually click through and finish on a Sunday afternoon.
Right.
For example, to earn the Trinity certification, you are required to research, write, and submit 4 large, highly detailed written work portfolios. These academic portfolios range from 2,000 to 6,000 words each.
That is a lot of writing.
Within these portfolios, you must deeply analyze English grammar, study a real, living English learner's specific linguistic mistakes, and create incredibly detailed, minute-by-minute lesson plans to help them improve.
But most importantly, both of these gold standard courses heavily focus on actual high-pressure teaching practice.
Yes, teaching practice.
You cannot pass the course just by reading a book about how to teach. You must physically stand up in front of a classroom of real adult English learners and deliver live, unscripted lessons.
Well, a master teacher sits in the back of the room, observing your every move, taking notes, and strictly grading your performance.
I think a lot of people, especially native speakers, might have a question here.
What's the question?
If I already speak English perfectly well, maybe I am a native speaker born in London, or maybe I am a very advanced learner who scored an 8.5 on the IELTS, why can't I just walk into a classroom, grab a marker, and start teaching?
That's a very common question.
I already know all the vocabulary words. I intuitively know all the grammar. Why do I need to spend 120 hours stressing over written assignments and being judged by an observer?
That is a very common assumption, and it is a fundamental misunderstanding of what education actually is. It is entirely incorrect. Speaking a language fluently and teaching a language effectively are two completely, fundamentally different skill sets.
How so?
Think of it like this. You might know how to drive a car perfectly. You have been driving for 20 years without an accident. But that absolutely does not mean you possess the patience, the communication skills, or the structure methodology required to sit in the passenger seat and teach a terrified 16-year-old teenager how to drive a car on a busy highway without crashing.
Oh, that makes total sense. I would be a terrible driving instructor.
As a fluent speaker, you instinctively know that you must add an S to a verb for the third-person singular in the present tense. For example, it is he walks and she runs.
Right. It just sounds correct.
But do you know how to clearly, visually, and simply explain why that rule exists to a beginner who does not share your linguistic background? Do you know how to design a dynamic, interactive lesson plan that keeps 20 tired adult students fully engaged and learning for a full hour after they just finished a long day of work?
Probably not without training.
These intensive certifications teach you pedagogy. Pedagogy is the underlying science, method, and practice of effective teaching. During these courses, you learn exactly how to break down and explain highly complex grammar structures simply and visually.
And you learn the delicate psychological art of how to correct a student's errors without embarrassing or discouraging them.
Earning a Cambridge CELTA or a Trinity Certisol certificate proves beyond a doubt that you possess these specific pedagogical skills.
And I want to emphasize that this is especially empowering for non-native speakers of English.
Yes, absolutely.
If you learned English yourself as a second language, successfully earning one of these rigorous certificates proves to language school directors and employers worldwide that you are a highly trained, professional educator, fully capable and qualified to teach the language globally.
It levels the playing field completely.
That is an incredibly empowering thought. It means that the years of hard work, frustration, and dedication you put into learning English can literally transform into a lifelong, rewarding career dedicated to helping others achieve their dreams.
It is a beautiful thing.
We have covered an absolutely massive amount of ground in our deep exploration today. We are going to begin wrapping up this extensive, detailed lesson, bringing all of these massive economic, technological, and sociological concepts together for you, our dedicated listener.
Let us briefly summarize the incredible journey we have taken over the last hour.
We have learned today that the English language is absolutely not just a boring list of vocabulary words to memorize from a textbook. It is not just a frustrating set of confusing grammar rules about the past perfect continuous tense.
We have learned that English is, statistically, a 19% salary increase waiting for you to claim it.
It is the universal invisible safety system that guarantees a safe flight across the ocean for millions of people every day.
It is the mandatory, quantifiable proof you need to secure a skilled visa and start a prosperous new life in a new country.
It is the master key required to win a highly competitive, fully funded master's degree scholarship.
And it is the foundation of a globally recognized career where you can travel the world, empower others, and teach the language yourself.
As we conclude our exploration into these concepts today, I want to leave you with one final, very important thought to ponder.
I want you to deeply think about the powerful concept of the compound effect of language mastery over the span of time.
The compound effect.
Earlier in our conversation, we discussed the 19% salary premium awarded to bilingual workers. When you first hear that, a 19% salary increase might seem like a relatively small or modest amount of extra money in your very first year of working at a new job.
But I want you to zoom out and think about the entire timeline of your life.
Yes. Over a long 20 or 30-year professional career, as your baseline salary naturally grows, as you switch companies, and as you get promoted into management roles, that 19% linguistic advantage continuously compounds upon itself.
It grows larger and larger with every passing year.
Over a lifetime of work, that single English advantage mathematically compounds into hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra lifetime earnings. Learning English is a unique investment that pays you rich dividends and interest every single year for the rest of your life.
So I want you to honestly ask yourself this question right now. What specific professional, academic, or personal opportunities are you currently missing out on simply because you are not actively practicing your speaking skills today?
What heavy doors remain locked in front of you because you are hesitating to put in the work to learn?
That is a truly powerful, provocative question to end our discussion on. Remember, your journey does not stop here. In this channel, Learn and Talk English, we are providing high-quality educational material to help you forge that key, unlock those doors, and step out of the soundproof box.
We are here every week to help you practice, to help you build unshakable confidence, and to help you finally claim that massive bilingual bonus for yourself.
If you found value in our deep, detailed lesson today, please subscribe and like this content on whatever platform you are using right now. Your active support is what allows and helps us to create more of these long, highly detailed, and deeply researched educational lessons just like this one. We promise to bring you many more great, insightful lessons in the future. Until then, keep practicing, keep listening, and keep building your future.